He was kidnapped and held for ransom, which if it had been paid, I still think it would have been like a top 20 ransom payment today.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Nailed It. I'm your host, Brandon Jensen, and today's guest is Samantha Lund, the founder of Lund Haus Design, an interior design firm and professional organizing company that's all about creating beautiful, functional spaces. But Samantha's journey to entrepreneurship is anything but typical. From the shocking experience of her grandfather being kidnapped to the evolution of her business into what it is today, her story is packed with resilience, passion, and some unexpected turns. Let's dive in. This is Nailed It. So you grew up in Chicago,
Yes.
the Windy City.
The Windy City, yeah.
Do your folks still live there?
No, so actually my mom lives here.
Okay.
And my dad lives in Brazil.
Oh, okay.
Random,
Cool.
which that's a
you,
whole story.
Okay.
But my parents aren't together, but they actually like own a house together here.
Okay. Yeah. So you still get along.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like we have Thanksgiving together. Like, so he has like a room at her house. So he like comes for Thanksgiving or, the holidays, whatever, throughout the year.
It's like they're healthy adults who figured out like, hey, maybe we're not best being married, but like we don't have to be complete assholes to each other.
They don't say this, but like they operate as best friends.
Yeah.
And when we are out as a family, you can't tell that they're not together, but they're like, no. And I mean, my dad has a girlfriend and like my mom's like, they've had relationships over the years, like all this stuff. But my brother lives in Long Beach. So it's just, we're kind of all
spread out a little bit.
Well, half of us are now like West Coast.
Okay.
And then my dad just like, so he has no choice but to come here.
Yeah. Randomly and like, hey, Dad, you get to come here because all of us aren't getting on a plane to go to Brazil.
Yes. Except for I do think we're going to do that this year because we haven't in many years. And we're like, okay, we do need to come visit you and your life. Like, that's important.
So you have been to Brazil?
I've only been once.
Okay.
Which like, I like traveling. Like, honestly, it's sad that I haven't gone more, but it's just, I don't know, whatever. It just hasn't happened.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. Like, I've sadly gone to a lot of places, but not to visit my dad. But he has for a minute. Anyway, it's like a whole thing. But he used to have a house in Florida. Then when he sold that's when my parents got the house together here. So I see him.
Well, then he's got then he has a place to stay.
Exactly. Like he wanted a place in America. So
yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, so anyway, growing up with dance and stuff. So basically my mom grew up a dancer. My mom was an NFL cheerleader.
Oh, okay.
Yes, fun fact.
That's cool.
Yes.
For who?
The Raiders when they were in LA.
Okay.
But she actually has cheered at the new Raiders stadium in Vegas. They do reunion shows.
Oh.
And so I've seen her cheer on the NFL field. Like
more recently.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 years ago. So.
Oh, that's cool.
She still got it.
Yeah. Well, good for her. Good for her.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why you grew up doing dance.
And actually great segue because that's how I ended up here in Utah. So I went to college for modern dance. I originally went to college for modern dance and ended up at the University of Utah. So
and as I understand, dance here in Utah is pretty, I mean, it's like the schools here, BYU and Utah, they're like, they put out some top talent.
Yes, definitely.
So you must be good.
Sure. Okay. So dance, there's a lot more in the sphere of dance. I am not the dancer that does like the 10 turns and crazy kicks and splits in the air. I did like modern dance, which is more like we had live drums in college. Yeah. Like rolling on the floor.
But it's like more fluid.
Yes, more fluid. Yeah. But just like there's still technique and it's not like easy. Just dance in Utah, like if I have kids and put my kids in dance, like it's a crazy world here. Intense. That is very intense, very like show, all the girls with like just like I don't know. They're these like 5-year-olds are doing like crazy flips and spins and stuff. Yeah. That's not the world I was in. So anyway,
Okay.
Yeah. So that's how I ended up
came to
here.
the U, modern dance.
Yeah.
So is that what you like? You get a degree in modern dance, or
I got a minor in modern dance, but what ended up happening is I got really sick when I was a freshman in college, and I tried to stick it out, but it just like, I don't know. Honestly, like, I just think at 18, I didn't know how to take care of myself.
Yeah.
Weird, strange, you know? You're just sent to college and you're like on your own.
You're like ramen noodles every day.
Yeah, literally. You're like, I don't know. And just like, mental health, physical health, whatever. Like actual health. Like, of course, you're dancing and you're working out, but, you know, whatever. So I always wanted to be a therapist. My idea was originally to be a dance therapist.
Okay.
And is that kind of like, as I was shifting and figuring things out, I like moved from dance to psychology.
Okay.
So I know I didn't stop dancing till really like I was like 25, but it just wasn't like the primary thing anymore. So my degree is actually in human development and family studies.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go back one step. You said dance therapy.
Yes.
So tell me what dance therapy, because like, I mean, I've heard of like horse therapy, and so I kind of understand, but what's dance therapy?
Yeah, so dance therapy is like literally just therapy through dance, but
kinda like breath work, but you're dancing.
Yeah, kind of like all of that stuff, which I think it's like now you probably like there's a lot of like, you know, yoga, ecstatic dance, these things. Dance therapy it's actually still not a huge industry. And I went to college. I mean, I'm like, what year is it? I came here in 2010. So I've been here for 15 years. So, and I probably wanted to be a dance therapist sometime in high school. So it's like been a thing for a long time, but I don't feel like the industry's grown that much. Like in these 20 years, like I think, because if you think about it, actually, if you like need therapy and you're working like experimental therapy, you're probably like more inclined to like try like an animal therapy or even art, like drawing, like that's like probably more like easy to get into. Like.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I think to that point, like I've done some breath work before. I've done some yoga before. Great. I've done, you know, I have a great life coach, therapist, whatever you call it. I've gone and seen her for years. But when I think dance, I'm like, man, I'm music. I can't carry a tune in a bucket, and I have no rhythm. So for me to dance, and so I think people would maybe get a little bit of like
stage fright.
Yeah, there you go.
That's not therapeutic.
Yeah.
So I think the only people that really do dance therapy, I think they do it a lot with seniors.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Because actually, fun fact, dance is the #1 preventative thing for your brain for Alzheimer's.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you really should start dancing. Like, but you know, even like, I don't know. I'm not sure what level of dance you need to do for that to be the case, but it is a thing. So I think they do a lot of seniors and then kids as well, because it like gets energy out. And then I think the other people doing dance therapy are probably dancers. So like, I just think it's an industry that didn't grow. More niche. And I can't fully credit this, but probably my like 20-year-old self was like, this is not an industry where I'm going to make a lot of money and be successful. So I think I still, and like this actually, it's interesting because I always wanted to do something creative and help people. So I do that. Like it's all brought me to here.
Yeah.
Because what I do is interior design, and it's like that's creative and that's helping people. Yeah. And I very much think my dance brain, my like choreography brain and all of that from dance is actually very helpful in
putting it all together, like rooms together, orchestrating a team, doing installations, all of that. I think that brain is what I use. So yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's very, I mean, I can see that, right? Yeah. I mean, I never thought about that before, but I can definitely see that where, like, okay, because, I mean, I think of choreography, and mind you, I've never actually done it. But for me, when I think about it, I go like, oh, okay, like you know, and you watch, like, we just recently had the Super Bowl, right? And you watch like the Super Bowl halftime, and it's like everybody's like doing their things. It's like, oh, okay, like, and it all flows, right?
Yes.
And so it's kind of, you got to like pick it up.
Yeah.
Transition. Like,
yeah.
Or I think about a little bit. I once upon a time did men's physique competition, and
cool.
you do this like posing routine, and they want you to be like, the guys that are more fluid are judged better than those that are like really stiff.
Like I just think being comfortable goes a long way. So like learning to feel comfortable in your body and be fluid, I think is like skills I have. Like I think a lot of people, when you back in the day when I went to school for dance, it's like it's hard to see how that translates to life, even if you're not going to be a dancer for the rest of your life. But I truly feel like I use those skills, and then even more so, like my actual degree is in human development and family studies. I mean, I use that degree
all the time,
every day, you know? So these things, it's like, I don't know, not everyone goes to college, not everyone needs to go to college, but of course, like, doctors should go to school. There are some people who need to go to school. But I think I've thought about it a lot. And, like, I think college is important, but I think it's more important for, like, the life skills or, like, learning, you know, like
psychology, people skills. That's, like, my grandmother had a degree in psychology.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Same.
Oh, really?
My grandma,
Nice. And, you know, I mean, my grandparents, they were great people. And I think because of that, she was probably a better grandmother, a better mother,
Totally.
Like, you know, just understanding that human psychology. And I'm sure it helps with employees and client. I mean, the whole gamut.
The whole gamut. So after I kind of like let the dance therapy thing go, I really wanted to be a marriage and family therapist. So that's what I like kind of was working towards. And I did start grad school, but then during grad school started my business. But that I really use because I work with couples most of the time. I mean, of course we have single clients, but most of our clients are, you know, husband and wife, and they can't decide on anything. They
never are on the same page.
Yes, exactly. Right? So I very much use like all of my degrees and education like every day.
Yeah.
And I think part of what's made me successful.
I imagine it's been a huge asset. So it's Simply Sam.
Yes.
But we're doing a rebrand. And when does when is that launching? When is that taking place?
Yeah, for sure. So for the past 6 years, we've been Simply Sam, organization and design. And we are rebranding to Lund Haus Studio.
Well, that's exciting. I love it.
Yeah.
I like the name.
Yeah. There's a lot of reasons, but I think it's just, actually, it's funny. We've been talking about college, but I almost feel like I'm graduating from entrepreneurship college.
Uh-huh. and you're getting to the big leagues.
Yeah, and I'm like an adult now, like in terms of life, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, what does like life really look like? How old am I? I'm like 33 years old. You know, I have to work for a lot longer.
Yeah.
Like, what does this look like, and what does my life really want to look like, and what do my husband and I really want? So it's kind of like the start of a new chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I also think, you know, when I've started companies and I think about names and different things, it's like a name, I feel like, needs to transcend the individual, right?
Yeah.
Because you think about like Coke or Apple or McDonald's.
Totally.
Or like it's not like John's Design, right? It's like
totally.
It's a lot more open, I guess, right?
Yeah.
It captures a broader range.
No, totally. And that's the thing, is when I started my business, like, transparently, like, I was in grad school. Like, I fully was planning to be a therapist. I just needed money to live.
And you're like, hey, I love this. And so
and it was,
people want to pay me for
like
it.
flexible. I could like make my own hours because I really started like organizing and doing what I like to call like light design.
Yeah.
Which is where you like go to Target and like buy stuff, which is great. I love that. But, whatever. That's different than like
the full
designing
blown,
a whole home.
doing the elevations and the floor plans.
Yes.
I like that light design though.
Light design.
I've sometimes called it like color design, right? They're like adding the texture and the color, right?
Oh,
the throw pillows, the linens, those types of things. But I like light design. I'm gonna use that.
Okay, you can steal that. I actually, I haven't heard anyone else say that. But basically, when I started, I was doing that. So it was like, I could have 1 client or 10 clients. I mean, then it did escalate quite quickly, but and then I was like, oh, like maybe this is what I want to do,
Yeah.
But when I was choosing my name, it was just like Simply Sam. That's cute. Yeah. Like, and it is. Well,
cute. It was also just you at the time, I'm sure, right?
Yes.
It's like, hey, it's just me, and it's like, hey, this is pretty simple, right? But it's what you're also doing is you're going in and simplifying people's lives, right?
Totally. And I still want to do that.
Yeah.
But I think the business like was almost like an embodiment of me. Like it was a personification of me and maybe who I was. And it's not realistic for your business to grow and change with you as a person, like fully in that way. Like you can't rebrand every 6 months. Like you can't, like that's not going to work.
You can, it's probably not the best idea. Right?
No. It's just not, it's not a smart business move, you know?
Sure.
And it was a really hard decision because we definitely have like brand recognition. Like I've had a lot of press, like all this stuff, but I just think it's like, it just wasn't working anymore.
Yeah.
And I think, when you're thinking about maybe who you want to design your $5 million+ new build.
Yeah.
Like, are you going to hire Simply Sam or are you going to hire Lund Haus Studio?
Yeah. No, it's like, I mean, branding does a tremendous amount, right? I mean, Apple's done a really good job, right? And I think it's synonymous with like, oh, it's a high-end package, right? Their packaging and everything, they've done a good job. Tell me, we're going to go back a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
You talked about some of the struggles growing up, right?
Yes.
As a child.
Yeah.
And you grew up in Chicago.
Yes.
You didn't move here till later.
Yes.
So tell me, other than the winters being awful, because I've been in the Midwest and it's anyway. But other than the terrible winters, tell me a little bit about, growing up, right? Your siblings, your mother, your father. You talked a little about some addiction, and different things. So
for sure.
Let's talk about that and how maybe it shaped you a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. So I think like the first thing is like my upbringing's unusual. I grew up very privileged. My dad's parents, and I say that to give context because, yes, my parents have had addiction issues, but that's very different than someone's parents who have, like, addiction issues and they're also, like, struggling to put food on the table, you know?
Yeah.
I want to paint a picture that, like
it was like they were high functioning.
Yes.
They were able to still work, hold jobs, but there was addiction that they were fighting.
For sure. Definitely. And so basically, like my dad's family owned a company in Chicago in the, I think like the 50s, 60s. I'm like, I don't know the years, but whatever. So that was my great grandfather. He started that business. It went on to my grandpa, and then my grandpa ended up selling it. And just, my grandparents are amazing. Like they paid for my college. Like they just made sure everyone was taken care of.
Yeah.
However, due to that, I guess, affluent nature, my grandpa was actually kidnapped.
Oh, shiz.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know. It's like
Kidnappings don't happen in America. I
No,
mean,
no,
like
like
I'm sure they do, but not like they do in South
he
America.
was kidnapped and held for ransom.
Wow.
Which, if it had been paid, I still think it would have been like a top 20 ransom payment today. Like,
but it was still, probably, I'm sure, a decent amount of money.
Yes. And you can Google it, but I
Okay.
just don't know the exact number off the top of my head. But whatever it was like significant. So he was held captive for 2 days, and he actually escaped.
Okay.
Yeah.
Resourceful.
No, very resourceful.
Grandparents are like MacGyvers. They are resourceful.
Literally, yes. So he escaped, but and then like the FBI was involved. Like it was like a thing. It's actually in New York Times archives. It's in like Time archives. Like it was a big thing back then. So basically, though, all their kids, so my like 2 aunts and my dad, they were, I think my dad was like 3 or 4 or 5, like young.
Yeah.
And all the kids were young. And my grandparents just shut down. I mean, my grandpa got very severe PTSD. My grandma got very severe PTSD. So then my dad's and his siblings were kind of like raised while their parents were going through deep trauma.
This traumatic.
Very trauma. So that's like one side of the story. And then on my mom's side, you know, my grandpa on that side was an alcoholic. Like she also was raised in a very like chaotic environment and had a lot of trauma. So then, you know, fast forward to actually my dad being like 20, 21, and my mom's 5 years older than my dad. So like whatever.
26,
27.
Yeah.
They meet in Chicago.
Okay.
And yeah, I think they got married within like 3 months, like fast.
Like they used to do in the old days.
Yeah. Well, just like, also I think it was just like they fell in love quickly.
Yeah.
But they were very young and they hadn't dealt with their personal trauma. And then also I think they were raised in very traumatic households.
Yeah.
So I think and then my dad had me when he was 23. So basically all this is happening. And then I was just, they're raising their kids in this, you know, it's just kind of like they were figuring out how to be adults as I was a kid, which affected my life. But at the same time, my dad started a business when he was like 21. He bought a business and like built that up and sold that for millions. And then he just kept doing that. And so it's like on one end, there was a lot of chaos. And then on the other end, there was successful entrepreneurship. Yeah. My dad was like one of the youngest people to ever join YPO. Back in the day, if you know what that is. I'm
not sure. Did you say YPO?
Yeah, it's like Young Presidents Organization. It's like yeah, I mean, I get the concept. Like,
but
you have to like meet certain revenue requirements and
to be accepted into the cool kid club.
For sure.
Yeah.
And YPO is still a really big thing, but just back in the day for him to do that in his 20s was like unheard of. Now I think there's a lot of 20-year-olds in it, and or not like a lot, but you know, whatever. Yeah. So it was like a very juxtaposing, but because of that, and I'm the oldest, I have one younger brother, I think I like just learned to be very resourceful. I learned to be like very, I don't know, almost like, I don't know, my dad would be like, go in the store and get this stuff. Like I just like had to do things
very independent.
And
somewhat, would you say that somewhat because he's you know, was busy kind of building these companies, and although you know maybe life was chaotic, it was like you know you almost, you know, and I think maybe I'm guilty of this sometimes when you run a business. I am guilty of you know, imposing on other people in my family, like treating them like an employee, like,
yes,
go do this.
Yes. I was very much an employee from a young age, but there's like, even going into my like 20s and stuff, there was like times where like I would go visit my dad and he'd like have me help him with work or something. And like, he'd rather me do it than like his assistant, because I would always do it better, even though I'm sure his assistant was like, you know, whatever, went to college and stuff. So I just I just like had to learn skills and learn how to take care of things and just be very resourceful from like such a young age. But then also I had like my own struggles. I think when you're a kid, when you're like 12, it's like, and there's like a part of you that's probably still 5, and then there's like a part of you that's 40.
Yeah.
It's like very confusing. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
You know, so I think for a long time I struggled with that. Like, I'm like, who am I?
How do I bring this together?
Yes.
And I'm sure,
yeah,
you know, and I think my experience is probably a little bit different than yours, but I'm sure you looked at that, and as you had this chaos around you, you looked for areas where you could manage that chaos, right? And I think that's maybe where some of this design and organization comes in. Because for me, when I was a little kid, that if I had a junior high, I had a big homework assignment, I would clean my room, even though my room was always really pretty clean and organized.
No,
I would
totally
reorganize.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I can think.
No,
I can think clearly.
You are completely correct. I think it's really funny because if you talk to like my friends growing up or my friends in college, they will literally be like, you've always been messy. And in reality, like, it was just that I was such a perfectionist. Like, I wanted it all put away perfectly, that if I didn't have time for that, or
you'd leave it out.
I'd just leave it out. It's like a day. Yeah. But I very much, I think, started to learn, okay, I can control my space. Like, I can control my bedroom. I can control this. That was what I could control. So I'm going to focus on that. And then I would like, basically over time, I learned the skill of organization and creating a space, because that had to like be my sanctuary.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that very much has translated into doing that for other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that helped develop, a system, which, probably, takes us into, you've got this company, right?
Yeah,
obviously it took off. Now you have employees, and it's one thing that I've struggled with personally, and trying to have somebody emulate me, right? Okay.
Yes.
I need you to do, I need you to do me. I need you to do my job. And so I'm sure, you've talked a little bit about how managing and leading people is for sure one of the most difficult things.
Totally.
And I would imagine some of that childhood and organizing, you developed systems that worked for you, right?
Yeah.
And then trying to translate those systems to other people. Because one thing I've always felt is, if your system is good and pretty easy, other people can easily adopt it.
Yeah.
And that's true to an extent.
But easy for me isn't easy for you.
Exactly. And so I look at something
and it's not because you're like, no, like, it's nothing to do with how smart anyone is.
It's just how your brains work.
Our brains all work differently. So gosh. Yeah. I mean,
tell us a little bit about like how you've been able to manage employees and, steer them to the vision and the systems that you've kind of created over these years.
Well, I think transparently, like, I still don't know that I have this figured out,
I don't think anybody does. So
no,
you're in good company.
I know there's someone somewhere that probably thinks I'm the best boss they've ever had and the worst boss they've ever had. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's just hard. I think the first thing is when you work for a small business, you really need to believe in and connect with that owner. Like, if you don't, I think at such a small scale, like, if you're not connecting when it's so few people, like, it's just not going to work. Like, and I think, also I really so I think the biggest shift I've made and learned is actually hiring based off of values. So not actually skill. I think most people, like, of course, basic skills, and people have to have basic things depending on what job they're for. But like, honestly, smart people can really learn anything.
Right.
I think if you're really hiring people more based on what they value in life and they value what you value, you're going to have a lot more success. And since making that shift, I feel like it's been a lot easier. But I also, I run a business, I grow the business, I work on clients, all these things. Like, I think it's also really hard to be a good manager. So over time, another thing is as we've shifted the business and just figured out what works and what doesn't, is like, really my husband takes on a lot more of those HR roles.
Okay.
From that perspective. But then you're
a little more of the face. Sorry to interrupt you, but you're a little more of the face. Yeah. You're the ones dealing. So it's kind of like, hey, here's where you can really help, alleviate this additional pressure.
Yeah, for sure. But, it's not perfect. I think we have figured out at one point we had like 21 people. We were like, we're not equipped to be this big. Like, that's too many people to manage day to day. So that didn't work. Now we're like 10, and I can't, like, even doubling revenue, I'm not even sure we would hire more than 2 or 3 people. Like, I think like you would have to hire some, but just now we've kind of like figured it out to,
It's interesting you said that. It makes me think of a gentleman we had on the podcast, Mark Glover. He shared this PMS, and it's how do you grow the business? He had this consultant come in. How do you grow the business without more people, more money, or more space?
I
right?
don't know.
and he was like, so remove those 3, right? People, money, space. How do you grow your business? And he, really sat down and was able to kind of evaluate it. And so even when you're saying like, even if we doubled revenue, I think we would only add just a couple more people, right? I think is we become smarter, more efficient. You can do those things where he was able to double his revenue really without any more space and any more people, because
that's amazing.
He was like, okay, well, how do I do it without those things? Because you can fix a lot of problems by throwing money at it. You can throw people at it. You can throw space at it.
Yeah.
But how do you grow without those things, right? And so, anyway, that was a
no. I mean, that's a question, but I love that, and I love thinking about that, and I think actually I haven't had those exact thoughts, but through this process of kind of shifting the business, that's kind of been the general vibe of like, okay, like we need to scale back and grow. So how can you really do that? And I mean, I think that comes down to plans and planning. And funny enough, like, I am a planner, and owning a business has kind of been this weird thing of like, I plan a lot, but also you need to be very, very flexible because things are always going to change.
Yep.
So I think realizing that, I think at a certain point I was like, well, then why are we planning anymore? But that actually doesn't work for me. So now I'm going into this space of like having a really concrete plan, but now I know the plan is going to change. There's no way the plan's not going to change. But having the plan and then actually like looking at it and adjusting like every whatever, I mean, it just depends on what you're working on. But like whether it's a week or daily or monthly or yearly, I think like finding that balance between planning and flexibility is really probably where, like, I don't know, most people's zone of genius occurs.
Well, I think it makes me think, and if memory serves, it's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. There's the 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1 is important and urgent, and then quadrant 2 is important but not urgent, and that's kind of where like the planning happens. I can't remember if it's to the right or the left. But and then you've got quadrant 4. It's not important and not urgent. But if you're spending the majority of your time, if memory serves, it's like in quadrant 2, that's where you're doing your planning, right? Quadrant 1 is like, it's on fire and we've got to take care of it. Right.
And a lot of people probably live in that.
They live in quadrant 1.
Yeah.
And so that creates a lot of chaos. But if you can, like you're talking about, spend time planning in quadrant 2 and then dip into quadrant 1 when necessary. I think that's the flexibility that you're talking about. And I think it makes for great leaders.
Yeah, totally. And I don't know if I can like call myself a great leader today, but I'm definitely working on it. And I think actually kind of back to like managing people, I think like, okay, I can't be good at everything, but I can care.
Yeah.
I very much care about my employees. I am sure there are days where I am annoying. I'm sure there are days where they don't agree with what I think. I'm sure I know there's days where like I am stressed and I'm not like all like nice.
Attentive or
I don't know. I try to always be nice, but like I've definitely, whatever. We have like where we're, what's like the word? Like just like short with people.
Yeah.
Yeah. There. Yeah. And there's, of course, that like if you're not that way, then like good for you. But I'm just not perfect. But I care, and they know I care. Like absolutely, they know I care, and I try and say, if you need something, come to me. But that's the biggest thing that I'm working on is I realize when they know I'm stressed, they care too because I care about them. So no one wants to make me stressed. Yeah. So then I have always really tried to be like, you need to advocate for yourself. I can't advocate for what you need because I don't know what you need if you don't tell me. And so I don't think it's perfect. Like, I can't force everyone to do that, but definitely, I mean, I have taught that to some people and it has worked, and I have people that are advocating for themselves, and I don't know, it's not perfect, but I think we're figuring it out.
And obviously you have employees and we work a lot with subcontractors. And,
yes. That's
but even still to that point, right? The owner may not be on the job, but the guy who's actually swinging the hammer, so to speak, is. And so it's those small things. In fact, I was talking to a framer just the other day. Yeah. And, he said, oh yeah, we've been on this job and the superintendent, he's a real asshole. And he's like, we're getting along better now. And I hear that a lot. And I always just say like, I just don't understand why guys are, to me, it's like you guys are an asset. Yeah. Because guess what? If you're not here, then I'm like, I'm left in the lurch, and I'm like, now I'm stressed. And, we try to bring in lunch periodically, visit with the guys. Totally. Yeah. See how their wife's doing, how their family is doing. Absolutely. One had a surgery. Like, hey, how's your surgery? How's your hand? Like, those types of things I think go a long way. And there's a tremendous amount of delivery. Right? It's like, go do this, as opposed to like, hey, could you guys like make sure before end of day you could come like try and get this cleaned up? It's like, oh yeah, for sure. Right. There's a lot of delivery. And I think, it sounds like, obviously I'm not an employee of yours, but it sounds like, caring and some of your background has probably helped. And to your point, I think, they say people stay at an organization not because of the organization, but because of the people they work with. Totally. And honestly, now, like everyone that works for me now, the least amount is a year. And the most is, I've only been in business, I think we're going on 7 years. So like the least is 5 or 6, honestly. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if you count my husband, but we can count him. Yeah. Well, he wasn't even my first employee. Someone else was. So, I think, and now, I mean, he's an owner, but when he started, it was more like work for me. Tell me. Which didn't work. Tell me a little bit what that's like working with a spouse, because, I think maybe in an office setting, it's a little bit different versus like you're out and about. Yes. But I know some people who've like, I can't get away from her. I can't get away from her. I leave the house and I get to work and she's at work. I leave work. I go home. She's at home. I can't get I just need a break or a moment away. No, but tell me how it's been for you guys, right? For sure. So I think like our business, how do I explain? Like
So right when I started, we talked about like doing organizing and light design.
Yeah.
And during that light design period, I feel like there was also a lot of what I like to call DIY construction. So Colby was actually still in college at this time,
okay.
But he would come, he'd hang the curtains and he'd put together the furniture. But then, he would like install a wood countertop in a laundry room and stain it.
Yeah, something like random.
Yeah. And I will tell you, like, my husband has grown, like he's grown up in some level of construction his whole life.
So he's capable.
Yes, but he's just not like he doesn't actually like DIY construction.
Doesn't like, okay.
Yeah. Like he doesn't, that's like he can do it. He doesn't
enjoy it.
He doesn't enjoy it, and some people do. So then we were like, okay, well, where is this going? And I kind of convinced him. I'm like, okay, we'll get your contractor's license. Like, let's just like manage people, easy enough. I'm joking.
It's like, super easy.
It's so easy managing construction projects.
They always show up when they say they're going to show up. They always answer their phone. They respond to emails in minutes.
Every bid is accurate. Like everything. Yeah. So he got his contractor's license and we did start doing remodels.
Okay.
So I would design everything and then he would manage the construction. And we actually did that for many years, and I guess still kind of do in some capacity, but it was about, really last year, through our own, I guess, journey of working on ourselves, he finally came to me and was like, I don't want to do this. Yeah. I don't want to do this with my life. I already knew, but I think him deciding to do that was like huge. And because I think for a long time, I'm like, well, we can't do that. We can't change the whole business.
Yeah.
So, but my point is so I think we've worked together for many years now, and there's parts of it that we love. There's parts of it where we are like thriving and we're doing great. And we both are really good with clients. I always joke that like people love me when they meet me. I'm like a pretty likable person, but when they meet Colby, like he's always going to be the favorite. Like he's just like so nice, so helpful. Just like, I don't know. He's the best. Love him. So I think that like it came to this point where he's just like, this is your dream. Like, I don't want to do your dream, which is so fair. But for many years, I think there was a lot of resentment going back and forth. Like he was resenting me for essentially like making him do, not that I made him, because it's not like he was off trying to like do some other job. It was just like, it's not really where he wanted
your dream engulfed him.
Yes.
And next thing you know, he was in your dream.
Yes, you were
pursuing it.
He was living for my dream, not his own.
Okay.
And so, and then I was resenting him for like the ways that he, that I perceived him falling short because
it wasn't rising to the occasion that you needed him to rise to.
Because it was not his dream or what he was really passionate about, So I think, there are days where we've loved working together and there's days where it's been really, really hard, but ultimately like we kind of had to, I think, like regroup and be like, okay, like what do we really want our lives to look like? Yeah. And what do we really want for our lives? And we still will always work together. We still will. I mean, like now, essentially, he is our like for all intents and purposes, like CFO. He does all of those things and manages all like the HR things and all of that. And then we are essentially on the in the process of like phasing out construction. And then now we're really more focusing on design, project management, and what we're basically good at and what we want to do. And Colby can kind of, it's going to be years, but he will like exit the business probably at some point,
So in your business, so you did light design and organization.
Yeah.
So are you guys now doing like full full-fledged design. You're doing the CAD drawings. You're like,
and we've been doing that for
since early on.
Yeah. Like 2019 was the light construction DIY. And then very quickly I was like, this is not what I want to do. This is not my design style. Like, you know, it's great, but I don't want to be like a Pinterest when I say Pinterest designer, I mean like the DIY version. There's a lot of beautiful stuff on Pinterest.
Speaking of that, that's funny because I have a Finnish carpenter and he's always like, I get these designers walk in and we got to meet with the designers, walk through, and the designer's like, this is what I want, and he's like, okay, that's like on a, I don't know, a 30-foot wall and that's like 20 feet tall, and like this is like a fraction, like what size you want it, and they're like, I don't know, can't you just make it? And he's like no, like, because then I'll make it and it won't be what you want. It won't, like,
literally.
You know?
So that's a great point. And that is where we shine, truthfully. Yeah. So honestly, this whole journey with construction and having actually like owned essentially a general contracting company, but really functioning as an interior designer, has taught me so much. So we are the designer that understands how construction works.
Yeah.
And we are trying to design things that can be constructed. Now, don't get me wrong. There are things I've designed that have been really complicated, that have taken like 5 subcontractors to figure out. And I don't mean 5 different people. I mean like
to bring 5 that are working together to bring it to life. 100%.
Yes.
Yep. I'm tracking.
So really, it's like every step of the journey has gotten us here, because really I think now we can position ourselves as a construction expert, which positions us to really be a designer that contractors want to work with versus.
So you understand the importance of like scaled drawings. So I can pull scale out and go, okay, we're missing a dimension here, but let me see what that is. Oh, okay. It's 19 inches or whatever, right?
Yes.
So I was talking to some designers and they gave me all this stuff in Canva. And I was like
mood boards.
Well, the drawings and everything.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, I need these scalable. Can I get those? Oh, well, you know, we put this, you know, we put all the dimensions.
Screenshot of the CAD drawing in Canva.
Yeah.
Which we do that for our clients, but that's not what I'm sending the contractor.
That's not what we want as the contractor.
No.
And I kind of was like, well, can you get me the scalable drawings? And it was kind of like, well, I guess we could do that. And it's like, you're kidding me. Like, contractors are just taking this and they're like, oh, I'm good with this.
No, I don't think. Well, honestly, okay, what I always say to my clients, and this I think applies to that as well, is like, I'm the designer. I make money off of being able to take a photo at the end of this and it looking good.
Yeah.
Like, I care about your budget, and I also like, I think to your point, like I care about whoever is building it being able to build it correctly. Yeah. Because definitely in my early days, we had some stuff built incorrectly, and it's actually very difficult, I think, to be design and build, because there's no one to blame.
Yep.
We lost a lot of money, you know, not really, like, we always did drawings, but like, you know, not really understanding. It just takes a minute to figure out like the importance of it and how it needs to be drawn and how it needs to be displayed. So it's like, I think the Canva, the mood boards, the renderings, like, are very important. So you understand the end product, but also you need scale. Like, architectural drawings are very, very important. And I've always thought that, like, it's kind of funny because we're not an architect, like, we're not a licensed architect, but a lot of the times we're getting the architectural drawings and they're not done.
No.
We're redoing all of them.
I mean, I say this. I always say, look.
Yeah.
The architect is good at providing the walls with which we have to build or operate.
Yes.
And the designers
like
are filling it,
well.
right?
Yeah.
They're filling it. And I would say, look, we're great at what we do. We build a fabulous product. But at the end of the day, it's an empty room. It's the designers that like bring it to life, where it's photographable.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm not in there like, oh, hey, look at this awesome room. It's all finished. It's painted, floors in, and it's like, oh, that's cool. That's an empty room.
No,
right?
totally.
Nobody gets excited about it.
Yeah. And so like, I think it's still exciting. Like, I think well done construction is, at least I appreciate it now.
Right.
Like, I very much appreciate it now. But I think that, like, I feel like people don't always understand what designers do. And don't get me wrong, there's like all different types of designers.
Yeah.
But I wish designers got a lot more credit, because I know a lot of designers that are having to take architectural plans and honestly completely change them. And I think we're the people that think about how people live in the home. Yeah. Like, that's, not all designers, but that's what I do. And that's comes from this place. I like started at organizing, but that's how we got here, because I'm thinking, before I did the full design, like, I was putting all the stuff away. And that's how I even started doing design in the first place, is I was in like $3 to $10 million homes putting away kitchens. Like,
you didn't have enough stuff or enough like storage.
There was nowhere to put the pots and pans. No one made a drawer big enough for the pots and pans. And I'm like, how does this happen in a $10 million home?
Yeah.
That's wild to me. And of course, there are architects and designers and builders that would not let that happen. Like, don't get me wrong. There's amazing people out there. But it was like also happening way more frequently than I ever thought. So I think I really like to think about how people live in the home. And my background now in construction and in organization actually like allows me to do that in a much more like complete way.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So as you kind of look back in, where you were, where you've come, where you are right now, what's maybe a pivotal moment where it was like, I know you've talked about maybe like your first like big job or whatnot, where you were entrusted like, hey, go do this job. Maybe talk a little bit about that and tell me if there's a moment where you feel like, we call it the nailed it moment, where you feel like, okay, we nailed it. And that was like, that was a pivotal moment or something that really kind of like catapulted us to the next level.
Yeah. Wow. I think there's two things, and so one is a project that we actually have been done with for like a year, but I don't know, like last year I was kind of in a weird spot because I was like kind of up against this rebrand, and I'm like, what are we doing next? I knew we had to shift. My husband and I were like focusing on like, okay, what do we really want in life, right?
Yeah.
But so the people working for me, like especially my marketing manager, she was like, are we gonna reveal this, or are we gonna do this, or do we want to do this thing? And I'm like, what about sales packets? Like they were trying to do all these things, and I was like, just hold on.
Just
and like
pause for a minute.
I think everyone's like, what are you, why? We need clients, like whatever. But I think looking back, I was like, I just needed to figure this out. So thank you to everyone for giving me time. But so like basically there's this project, and it's like on our website and stuff, but we haven't fully revealed it yet, and we're waiting till we're doing rebrand, and then we're going to start revealing that. And really, I feel like it's just a project that really encapsulates like my ability and my team's ability. And I think it just shows what we're capable of. It's like it's like a basement that, was like over $500,000. Like they spent a lot of money on it. Like we did a gym and a full kitchen and bathroom and all these things. And I just think, but like that project and finishing that and seeing it come to life was definitely like, okay, like I am doing this. Like
we nailed it.
Like we nailed it. Yeah. This like could be in, Architectural Digest, like it could be on that level.
Be published. Yeah.
Yes, it's definitely publishable. But then I think also it's really important to talk about like personally, because while I felt that, I don't think I fully like took it all in because of, me going through a hard time. But I think you know, in 2023, I had been thinking about doing this like retreat for a long time. It's called the Hoffman process. It's been around for like
the cold guy?
No. Okay. There's a lot of Hoffmans.
Yeah.
So it's not Wim Hof, which is breathing.
Yeah.
And then also...
There we go. I was thinking Wim Hof, not Hoffman.
Also not to be confused with like the Hoffman who created LSD. Like it's neither.
Okay.
So because a lot of people are like, I talk about this and they're like, think it's like an ayahuasca thing or something, you know, whatever. But I'm like, no. There's none of that in this. You can't do any sort of mind altering anything during this week. You take your phone away, you go off grid. It's like a full, essentially a mental health retreat.
Reconnecting.
Yes,
reconnecting with the earth and with yourself.
Yes, they call it psycho-spiritual. So it's based in psychology and spirituality.
Okay.
And so anyway, I had been thinking about doing it for a really long time, and then I finally did it. But I think me as a business owner, like also at that point giving Colby, my husband, and my mom, who I work with too, which we didn't even get into that, but that's okay. Like finally letting go of control and being like, you guys can handle this for a week. Like I need to go take care of myself was a huge turning point. And I think since then there've been a lot of ups and downs, but ultimately it's been an upward trajectory of, I guess, like being okay with myself and kind of really, I don't know, being able to have the nailed it moments. I think before that, I'm just like, you're just like running.
You're just grinding.
Yeah, I never took time to like take in those moments.
You don't allow yourself to.
Yes.
The space to accept yourself and enjoy the moment, right?
Yes,
it's always like I need to go.
Perfectly.
I need to go further. I need to go harder. I need to go more. I need to do.
Yes, I'm always like, what can we do more? How could we have improved? And so I think it didn't allow me to like take in those moments. So now that's very much something I can do. Yeah. And even when there is the fires, which happen in business every day, every week, whatever, it doesn't feel like a fire anymore.
Feels like I can handle this.
And
if I don't, like, I'm still okay with myself.
Yes.
Yeah. That makes sense. I can appreciate that. Well, I feel like you've shared a ton of knowledge with us, right? And it's been, some twists and turns.
Yes.
So how do people get in touch with you, right?
Yeah.
And when is the rebrand is happening here shortly?
Yes.
How do people get in touch with you if they want to use your services?
Yeah, for sure. So right now, like, you can still find us at Simply Sam. And honestly, that's still we're keeping that name with organizing. So if you find us, like, everything's connected.
You could, yeah. Okay.
But basically, Simply Sam Design Build is our Instagram now, and it will be Lund Haus Studio.
Okay.
And then same with our website, but either will take you to
where you need to go.
Where you need to go. I know the rebrand thing. It's like, who am I? Like, how do you find me? But my name is Samantha Lund. So just Google that if all else fails. And you'll find it, yeah. And I'm like, and my number is, no, I'm kidding.
Well, so as we kind of wrap up, one thing I'll tell you is, as a builder, we appreciate the work that true designers do. I say Thank true you. designers who are doing the drawings, who are doing the work, doing the selections, because it makes us look much better. Right?
Totally. I completely agree.
We also, want to try to educate homeowners in this space and
absolutely. I completely agree.
I always tell owners, I say it's absolutely best if you can hire your contractor, hire your designer, and hire your architect in the beginning. I said, because as the conceptual drawings and floor plans are coming out, the designer can chime in. Right? They don't have their elevations, but they can say, that butler pantry, that's not going to work. What if we tweak this? Because when you do it after the fact, and when we've done this, we've had drawings that were done, completed, and then we go back to engineering because the designers want to change something. Right?
Absolutely.
And it always costs more, right? But people sometimes have this fear of like, well, if I lock in at this point, the people are just going to charge me whatever. And it's like, we're all competitively in this market. And so we know we're competing against other people, and we're not out there just charging through the nose, right? We're charging a fair market value. But that's something that we kind of, try to steer clients towards.
No, totally. So. And honestly, I guess just one thing to know about us is, I think everyone's going to say, oh, well, come to me first. But basically, like, we do try to be the first person that someone comes to. And we try to be like, how do you want to live in this? And then if we need an architect, we hire the architect.
Bring those other people
in. If we need a structural engineer, we go to the structural engineer. And then once the plans are done, that's when really you should get things bid out. I mean, also throughout the process, obviously you can be talking to builders, or if you know your builder, great. But it's like, it starts there. It starts in how you want to live in your home, because why else are we building a home?
You can't bid it out if you don't know what you're putting in.
Literally, yeah.
Well, Sam, do you go by Sam, or do you like Samantha better?
No,
or
Sam.
You're kind of like, hey,
totally,
whatever.
Sam.
Sam, we appreciate you taking time out of your
Thank you
busy
so
day.
much for having me.
Yeah, this will come out in a few weeks, and we're super excited.